Hey everybody, it's Alison Heikkila. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is week 2 of my guest designer spot with the Coffee Loving Cardmakers. So let's get started. I have from Rubbernecker Stamps the coffee stamp set. This is no longer available, but keep in mind that you can do this card with any focal image and any supporting image. So we're going to use the woman that's holding the coffee mug and has that fabulous sweater and scarf on. And then I'm going to use one of the cups that I pointed out earlier. So if you've got, a critic card that you want to do, so you have a narwhal, and then you have hearts that you want to do behind it, you can totally remake this card with the stamps that you have. So don't think that you have to have this stamp set or make it coffee themed even to make it work for you. So I'm working on some smooth Bristol cardstock. I stamped her with VersaFine Clair ink in Nocturne. It's like my favorite ink to stamp detail with and sentiments. It's fantastic. Moving that off to the side, and we're going to start coloring her. This week I decided to go with my Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens from Kuretake as opposed to the Copics that I used last week. That's one of the reasons why I'm using the Strathmore Smooth Bristol cardstock. Also, we'll be using it for our background later on as well. To color her skin, I'm using Flesh Color. I don't make the color names, you guys. Oatmeal and beige. And then I'm going to add a couple of pops of pale rose for her cheeks. So I'm starting out with the Flesh Color. Again, I don't make the names, you guys. I'm sorry. It's not my choice. And then I go in with oatmeal, which is a little bit darker. I use oatmeal more than any other color in the entire palette because it's really great for muting colors down. It's great for adding some shading without altering the color too much. It's just a great all-around color. And then I finish off with beige. Then I go back with the oatmeal to smooth that out a little bit more. And then again with the Flesh Color to kind of blend everything out. You can see I'm doing more of a circular motion now with that Flesh Color just to really get it all nice and smooth. And I always like having a little bit of scrap around whatever image I'm coloring just so that I can wipe it off because these markers absorb the color a bit, which is great for when you're blending. But then, if you want to kind of get the true color again, you have to scribble it off. It doesn't do any harm to the marker if you pick up, a different color, whatever, it's fine. Just scribble it off and you're good to go. But it really helps with blending quite a bit. I'm starting off with the sweater now, and I have aquamarine blue and smoky teal. These are some of the newer colors. You can get the set, I think it's 30. I don't remember what the name of it is. I'll have it listed in my description box below. If you're on my blog and you're watching, all of my supplies are listed there as well. But these colors are great. They're kind of dusty and muted, and I love this palette. You can even get these colors in true watercolor pans too. And I want it because they're beautiful. I just haven't gotten it yet. I've moved on to red grape and light red grape. So guys, this is super basic coloring. Typically when I color, I use 3 colors like I did with her skin. I'll use 3 colors for her hair as well. But I didn't want to make this too complicated. So I'm just going with 2 colors just to give her kind of a rounded look, adding some shadows here and there. I went in with evergreen and dark green, and now I've moved on to plum mist and purplish gray. I love these colors. They're just so, warm and cozy, right? I mean, you can use them for summertime projects too, but I just really like how they look. And what's great is that the VersaFine Clair ink, you can emboss with it, but it doesn't bleed, it doesn't smudge, so you can color right over it. I don't know if you noticed with the diamonds on the purple area, I just went right over that and wasn't worried about smearing the ink at all. It's great. So you can just color right away, whereas some other inks you have to kind of wait a little while or heat set them, whatever. So now we have smoky yellow and dark yellow. And now I went back to the evergreen and the dark green. I'm also going to wind up bringing in the blender brush because I made her sleeves a little too dark, but I show you how to kind of scoop up the dark color with the blender. You can do this with water on a paintbrush or a water brush. I struggle with water brushes though. I much prefer using water and a paintbrush, or like if I'm on a video like this, I'll just use the blender. You can see how it just, you scoop up that color and you wipe it off to the side and it's good to go. made it nice and bright again. I went back to aquamarine blue and smoky teal, just repeating the colors just to, make it, keep the color palette simple. Although I guess it's not too simple because it is a lot of colors. But it's cool. I would wear this sweater. Maybe not with the yellow on top. Yellow and I don't really get along too well. Maybe if the yellow was at the bottom. I don't know. It's a cool sweater though, nonetheless. Okay, so I'm adding a little bit of shading with the smoky teal. Just, kind of working on the colors as I go, deciding which area is going to be which color. I brought the blender in right by her sleeve because some of that aquamarine kind of went into the dark yellow. So I just kind of lifted that up. Sorry that it was tough to see what colors those were. That was dark blossom pink and blossom. Oh, no, I'm wrong. That was pale rose on her lip with red grape. Just to give her some nice lipstick that coordinates with her sweater. And now I'm using blossom pink and dark blossom pink for her scarf. These colors together are just really lovely. Really great for flowers. I mean, obviously it's called blossom pink, right? But it works really well for a flower. I would add a third color if I was doing that. I like to really play with light and shadows and whatnot. But for this, it's a smallish image. And again, I wanted to keep it kind of simple. So now I have medium beige and vanilla for the cup. You're really not going to be able to see much of a difference here, but in person it's a little bit more obvious. Now I'm doing her hair, and I'm using dark brown and mid brown. These colors are from the original palette, as are the colors I did for her skin. Otherwise, everything else is from the newer stuff. I have oatmeal again. I did her hair a little different today. Usually I start with the dark and I work my way into the light with hair. But this time, I don't know, I just jumped in with the mid brown. Then I did the oatmeal just to get those highlights in. And now I'm using the dark brown, and then I'm going to smooth it out with the other colors. I don't know why I did it this way. It's usually not how I do it, but hey, you know what? It works. There are plenty of ways to color. Now I have haze blue, and I'm just going to add some tint to her glasses. I did use the flesh color where her glasses are, and the haze blue just kind of adds to, the look of actually having glasses. I wouldn't want to go straight in with the haze, or another color for that matter, because then it would just be too stark. So this, at least, it tones down her skin color a bit. I used the coordinating die to cut her out, and now we're going to work on our background. Again, I have Strathmore Strathmore Smooth Bristol cardstock. I need to slow down, guys. It's because I sped the video up to 200% as opposed to my typical 150. Because a lot of it's kind of redundant and not super exciting, like what I'm doing right now. I'm using VersaMark ink with that coffee cup that I chose from the same coffee stamp set from Rubbernecker, who, by the way, is rebranding to Brass and Bliss, just as an FYI. So I stamped over the whole thing. You can't see it at all on screen. You can hardly see it in person. I was struggling a little bit with seeing it because my camera was in the way. But there you go. It's there. So typically when I'm doing a background like this, here I'm just wiping away some of that excess powder that's there. When I'm doing a background like this with an all-over print that I'm kind of creating, I typically start in the upper left corner, and then I work my way across and down, just so that I can, make sure that I have good coverage and not any crazy holes. I've heat set that with my embossing gun, and now I just have an old Manigot box that I use for splattering and spraying and all of that good stuff, just so that it kind of protects the area behind my workspace a little bit. I'm spraying Saltwater Taffy Distressed Spray Stain along with Villainous Potion and Salvaged Patina. Just having a good old time. I don't use these enough. I need to use my sprays more often in spray form. You guys know, if you watch my videos before, I tend to use my sprays to brush on across the edges of my card base to add some extra color, sometimes extra shimmer, depending on what type of spray I'm using. But I don't spray them enough. I need to do that more. So that's a goal for this year. Not that I'm into New Year's resolutions or anything, but I enjoy making a mess, and spraying is a good way to do that. So I'm very carefully heat setting this as I move across the card there. I don't want to remelt my embossing powder. If it happens, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I really don't want to because I want to keep the cups looking good. I went over the dried panel with a microfiber cloth. That's the word. It stained a little bit, but I think that's because the Villainous potion wasn't completely dry. I was a little impatient because I just wanted to finish making the card. But I don't care. It's fine. It's fine. It still looks cool. So I grabbed an old stamp set from the Rabbit Hole Designs called Perfectly Blended, and I chose a stamp that worked in that area. Originally, I was going to use something from the original coffee set from Rubbernecker. It was a little bit big. I didn't want to use vellum. I didn't want to use a big chunky piece of cardstock and kind of hide the background because where I'm stamping or where I'm planning to stamp, I really like how the color kind of swirled around. And I didn't want to hide any more of the cups. So I figured I'd just go with a smaller stamp and just stamp it directly onto that background. So now I've got VersaFine Clair ink again, but this time it's in Twilight, which is my most used color besides Nocturne because sometimes you just don't want black. But you want something that's deep and dark. I almost went with Monarch, which is a nice, rich purple, but I thought that the Twilight would be great, and it's my favorite, so I went with that instead. I used some Barely Arts glue to attach my lovely lady to the background, and I needed to add some more of that kind of yellowy green color. So I grabbed Crushed Olive Distress ink, and I'm just swiping it across the background. A lot of times, I included, folks, including myself, wow, that was tough to explain. People, including me, will use a blending brush to add that color to the background. That takes a lot of strain on it. It puts a lot of strain on my shoulder and sometimes my hands. So going in directly with the ink pad kind of makes it a little bit easier. And also I love the change of color. You could see how it looks there. But that's the card for today, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. Again, thank you so much to the Coffee Loving Cardmakers for having me. I'll be back next Friday with a whole nother coffee, tea, or cocoa card. We'll see what it's going to wind up being. Maybe I'll do a shaker. I don't know. We'll see. All right, everybody. I will be with you all again very soon. Be well. Stay safe. Peace out.